ASMR Retro. Since tomorrow is Halloween, I figured today I will look at my top 10 favorite horror movies. I was going to show the DVD boxes or VHS boxes of these movies, but then I realized that I don't currently have some of these movies, so instead I decided to draw my own version of the movie posters. I mean, I didn't come up with these designs, I just tried my best to emulate the original posters for the movie. Okay, let's get started. Now, these are in no particular order, and I'm just going to kind of ramble my way through them. Maybe I'll talk about some of my memories of these movies. I hope you can see this good on the camera, but anyway, so the first movie is Return of the Living Dead. R E T U R N L I V I N G T E A T. They're back from the grave and ready to party. So, this movie I saw when I was pretty young. I went to a friend's sleepover party and he had rented this movie. I think this was probably the first zombie movie, not the first horror movie, but the first zombie movie that I ever saw. And I loved it. It was pretty scary for me at that age, but even though it was scary, me and my friends were just laughing pretty much through the whole movie, maybe as a way to cope with the fear. So let me see. Basically, I'll give you a brief rundown of some of the plot, I guess. So there's basically this medical warehouse, and like a medical supply warehouse, and for some reason the military accidentally shipped them this barrel of this chemical with a corpse inside, and the owner of the warehouse was kind of scared to contact the military about it, so he just kind of left it in the basement. And then one day these two employees were messing around and accidentally caused one of the barrels, or the barrel, to leak, and then they inhaled the chemical, and then the chemical went everywhere throughout the warehouse. And then because they had some corpses in the warehouse, so they came to life, and so then the two employees were freaking out, and they got really sick from the chemical. They're freaking out. They called the boss. The boss comes. They don't kill the zombie, but they cut up the zombie, and then they go next door to their. There just happens to be a mortuary next door, so they use the, what do you call that thing? The crematorium to burn the body, and that spreads the chemical and throughout the air, and it just happens to infect the neighboring cemetery. So of course a bunch of zombies come to life, and then there's a bunch of teenagers, of course, partying in the cemetery. So you can imagine what havoc that leads to. And what I really like about this movie, well, first of all, it's kind of funny. It's not a comedy by any means, but it's got a lot of humor to it. Really cool soundtrack, a lot of punk music. It just seems to really fit the grittiness of the movie. I like the actors, particularly the owner of the medical warehouse and the owner of the mortuary next door. some reason feels real to some degree. Also, the zombies have a lot of character. Well, some of them do, like the zombie that was in that barrel of toxic waste or whatever it was. He became known as Tarman, but just a really cool looking zombie, and oozing with all of these. It looks like tar, I guess, but just really cool looking in the way he moved and stuff like that. So, but one unique thing about this movie is how, well, there's two things. One is that the zombies in this movie only eat brains. Not like most other zombie movies where they eat pretty much the whole body. These zombies only eat the brains of humans, and I think animals too, but which is unique. I tried researching that maybe like 5-10 years ago to see if this was the first movie where, or the only movie where zombies eat brains. I couldn't really find an answer, but still that's pretty unique, whether they came up with it or not. And then the other thing is that you can't kill these zombies. Like, if you chop off the zombie's hand, that hand will still be alive. If you destroy the zombie's brain, they'll still be alive and coming after you, right? So there's really no way, unless you incinerate them. But then the chemical spreads that way, so it's really a hopeless situation, it seems like. But that's what makes it pretty unique. Alright, let's move on to the next movie. Oh, one more thing I wanted to add was, this movie really inspired me to start making, when I was a kid, like zombie comics and stuff like that, and zombie home movies. And I do that with my friends, and it was really, really fun. So this movie was definitely inspirational in some of my early creativity. Okay, next up is the sci-fi horror classic, absolute classic, Alien. Alien. In space, no one can hear you scream. It was directed by Ridley Scott and I believe released in 1980. This is absolute viewing if you like sci-fi style horror movies or just sci-fi in general. Oh, and it's starring Sigourney Weaver. So the basic plot here is this spaceship, it's like a commercial cargo ship or something like that, and the ship detects an emergency beacon on a nearby planet when they're flying on some mission, and their company tells them to go investigate. So they go investigate this planet and they see a crashed alien spaceship. So they go inside to investigate, and they find all these little pods inside that look like that, sort of, and they have no idea what it is. And then one of the pods opens, and an alien thingy, they call it a facehugger, attaches itself to one of the crew members' face, and basically it ends up impregnating him. And then the alien ends up eventually falls off, and the guy thinks he's okay. But then later, when they're eating, another alien bursts out of its bursts out of the guy's chest in a pretty shocking scene. So that alien grows really quickly, and then it becomes huge eventually. Like, not like right away, but like after whatever, a day or whatever it was, it just grows really fast. And then one by one, this alien is hunting down and killing the crew members. So, what's so good about this movie? Well, first let me tell you, do I have any memories? Oh yeah. So, actually, when I was young, I was at a cousin's house or something. There was a birthday party, and we were just running around playing, and he had this huge, big screen TV, and I think he had this on Laserdisc. It was just playing on the TV. No, it was Aliens, the sequel to Alien, and it was just playing on the TV, and just to watch the movie, and I was like, wow, this is pretty awesome. Like, I was just entranced by this movie. And then I can't remember how much longer, like maybe a year later or something, I saw in the TV guide that Aliens was gonna be. I thought it was Aliens was gonna be on TV. So I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that movie. I want to check it out. So I stayed up really late to watch it, but it ended up being Alien, the first movie. I didn't know there was another movie. So I was expecting Aliens, but got Alien. And in comparison, because I was young, I was more into the action of the second one. So I was really disappointed by Alien when I first saw it. And for years I didn't really like the movie after that. But then eventually when I got older and I watched it, I was like, hey, wait a minute, I was wrong about this movie. It's actually really awesome. So that was kind of my introduction to the Alien/Aliens franchise. What's awesome about this movie, man, the design of the alien creatures is incredible. Designed by, I think, some German artist. What's his name? H.G. Giger, I don't know how you say his name. I think he died not too long ago, but yeah, they based the designs on his artwork, and you can go look at his artwork, and it looks really freaky. Like, there's really freaky stuff, but the aliens look amazing. Well, in this movie, there's only one alien, and the facehugger. The sets are so just like well designed, especially the alien spaceship, very creepy, and the suspense that they build up. Like, these movies start, this one and the sequel, build up the suspense throughout, I don't know, the first hour of the movie. So maybe some people would find that boring, but man, once all hell breaks loose, it's just incredible. And I'm not doing this justice, but anyway, just go see this movie if you haven't. But this poster's kind of weird though. Like, yeah, this looks more like an egg rather than a pod. And I don't know what this was supposed to be at the bottom. Like, the way I drew it, it looks like a waffle, and that's like an egg yolk. I think it's supposed to be a net or something, but anyways. And by the way, I think I do like Aliens better than Alien, but that's more of an action sci-fi movie. Like, the horror, it's not that scary compared to the first one. Alright, next up is another zombie classic, Dawn of the Dead. D A W N O F T H E D E A T. When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. This is one of George Romero's zombie movies. I like the first three, basically: Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. I love all of them, but I just picked one of them for this video, and I ended up going with Dawn of the Dead. I think this was the first of the three that I saw, and I remember when I saw this, it blew me away. Literally, man, there's like, all I can think of when I think of this movie is headshots. I've never seen so many headshots in a movie, like actual, like, zombies getting shot in the head. It's just constant. Like, there must be like 100 zombie headshots, and they're pretty well done. Of course, the movie's not just about headshots, but so let me see. Plot. Okay, there's a zombie outbreak, obviously, and this group of, I don't know, is it maybe like 4 or 5 people, end up going to this deserted shopping mall that's full of zombies, of course. But they go in there, clear out the zombies, and I think they have made there because they have everything they need. There's food. I mean, there's clothing. There's even a what do you call it? Ammo store nearby, so they can get guns and ammo and all that stuff, and they're pretty safe from the outside world. But then this biker gang ends up showing up, and they want them all for themselves. So a lot of near the end of the movie, it's a battle between the people who take over, the original people who took over the mall, and this biker gang. I'm not really explaining it all that great, but yeah, I don't know what do I like about this movie. Well, number one, the whole idea of being in the abandoned shopping mall is a pretty cool idea, and there's some political commentary there, and basically meaning, the consumers are pretty much like brainless zombies going to buy the latest knickknacks because we see advertising or whatever. But it's just a cool idea to be in an abandoned shopping mall, and I can't help but think when I'm watching this, like, oh, what would I do in that situation? Yeah, I would do what these guys are doing. Like, the main characters in this movie are actually smart, and they're likable, and you want to see them succeed. And there's some tension and drama between them, of course, but for the most part, you want to see them all survive. But as we know, that probably doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen. There are some survivors, though. The only thing I can really criticize maybe is the zombie makeup isn't the greatest in this movie. It's pretty bad, actually. It's just like blue. All the zombies look blue. But the blood splatter is pretty cool. Lots of squibs and practical blood. Of course, back then that was the only way to do it, so that makes up for it. Oh, something I forgot to mention, and it's just kind of happened by fluke, is so Return of the Living Dead and Alien, which is the second movie I talked about. Actually, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think they're written by the same guy, and I didn't plan them to be back to back like that, but I just realized, yeah, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure they're written by the same guy, believe it or not, because one movie's pretty serious, and one movie's pretty, I wouldn't say silly, but it's not so serious. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, another one of my absolute favorite movies is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Now, I love not the entire series, but I love I love the entire series, especially the first three movies. But I just had to pick one, and I had to go with this one, because, again, this was the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie that I saw. Again, I was pretty young when I saw it, and so yeah, I figured, you know what, I gotta go with this one. I like the whole Dream Warriors gimmick, I guess, and it's kind of similar to Alien. I remember renting this movie as a kid and loving it, and then when my birthday came around, I ended up getting A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 for some reason. But I really wanted Part 3, and then when I saw Part 2, I was so disappointed because I thought at the time it didn't compare to Part 3. But I gotta say, this is an unpopular opinion, but now I actually like Part 2. I think it's way, way, way underrated. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. Basically, this movie is about, well, in general, Nightmare on Elm Street's about this guy, Freddy Krueger, who can, he exists in the dream world, I guess, and when you go to sleep, and whatever he does to you in the dream world actually happens. So if he kills you in your dream, you're actually dead in real life. And he's, his face is all burned. That's because the parents in the neighborhood, like when he was alive, all the parents got together and burned him because he was killing, a bunch of people. So, yeah, and he has this glove that he made that has blades on it. So each finger, not his thumb, but each finger has a blade on it. So that's his primary weapon. But of course, in the dream world, he can pretty much do whatever he wants, and frequently finds creative ways to kill people. So what I like about this one is that the main characters each find an ability in their dreams that they can use to fight Freddy. So this one character, Kincaid, he has like super strength in his dream. There's another character who he's like a wizard. In his dream, he has like wizard powers, things like that. So I always found that fascinating. And of course, it brings back Nancy Thompson, the star of the first movie. And the kills are very creative. The one part where Freddy's like the little string puppet, and then he ends up controlling one of the guys like a string puppet. Like he cuts his arms and legs and pulls out the veins, and he's pulling the veins as if it's like the strings controlling him. And then he ends up causing him to fall off a building. It's very creative ideas. One, I think it's near the beginning where he looks like a kind of like a giant snake, and he's like swallowing the girl. So just really cool visual stuff. I love Freddy. A cool character and awesome movies. Like I said, particularly the first three. It started getting weak after that, but I do like Freddy vs. Jason. I enjoyed that one a lot. Okay, we can't have Freddy getting all the glory, so we gotta cover Friday the 13th. F R I D A Y T H E 13. The final chapter. So this is actually the fourth Friday the 13th movie. 1, 2, 3, 4. But unlike what it says here, this was obviously not the last of the Friday the 13th movies, although I believe it was supposed to be the last, but they saw, hey, we're making a lot of money from these movies and they're relatively low budget. Let's keep pumping them out. So I'm a fan of the series, and I just had to pick one for this video. So once again, I picked this one because it was the one I remember seeing the most as a kid. They would show it on TV a lot, especially around Halloween. And of course it was censored, a heavily censored version of it, I remember finding these movies pretty scary as a kid. I would often have dreams where Jason was chasing me, and then he would stab me, and it would feel so real, like that feeling of the knife going in I was convinced it was really happening, like it would actually hurt. Even when I woke up, I'd still feel it for a bit, So story-wise, I mean, in general, I guess you can say Jason is an indestructible zombie. So when he was a kid, he was at this camp, and he has, I guess, disabilities of some kind, and both mental and physical, or probably just mostly mental. Anyways, these camp counselors were, I guess, negligent. They're off doing naughty business in wherever, and Jason was swimming, and he drowned because no one was watching him. And then, so in the first movie, surprisingly, it's not actually Jason killing anybody, it's his mother, but you don't find that out until the end of the movie. Sorry, that's a spoiler. Should have warned you about that. But it's common knowledge now. But in starting from the second movie, Jason comes back, I guess, as a zombie. I mean, there's some debate about that, but he comes back to get revenge for the death of his mother because she dies, obviously, at the end of the first one. Someone cuts her head off. So basically, he returns to the camp. He doesn't return there, he never left, I guess, but the camp that he died at every films, I guess. And since then, he's worn the hockey mask. And then what happens in the fourth one? In the fourth one, what's his name? It's a kid, Tommy Jarvis, played by Corey Feldman. And basically, I mean, there's not much plot. It's the same thing every time. There's a bunch of teenagers go to Camp Crystal Lake to have fun, and then Jason hunts them down one by one and kills them. But the interesting thing about this one is near the end of the movie, and this is another spoiler, Corey Feldman shaves his head because Jason was kind of bald when he was a kid, so he shaves his head and does makeup to make him look like a young Jason, and then that distracts Jason, and then Corey, aka Tommy, gets Jason's knife and hacks him repeatedly in the head and ends up killing him, or so we're led to believe. And then at the end, it kind of looks like Jason's spirit goes into Tommy Jarvis. So is it really? Let me think. What I like about Jason in general is just his indestructible nature. Like, he's kind of an unfeeling, unthinking zombie, but he's so brutal in the way he kills people. And he has, each movie it seems like he gets stronger and stronger and more mythical in his ability to just his strength, and he can tear people apart with his bare hands easily. So I really like how the damage that gets done to Jason in each movie carries forward to future films. Like, if someone gets an axe and slices part of his head and part of his mask gets damaged, you'll see that in the future movies as well. Like, they'll keep that little thing there unless he gets a new mask, which he does sometimes. But yeah, his body by the eighth film is just a mess, but it still looks cool. Like, he's all torn up, his body's rotting, you can see his spine, but it just looks amazing. So with each movie, it just looks better and better. But then after, starting part 8 was okay, but after that it started to get a little bit weak, the series, but still enjoyable. Okay, the next movie is The Shining. T H E S H I N I N G, or The Shining, or The Shinning, as they say on The Simpsons. A masterpiece of modern horror, which I agree, but this is definitely not a masterpiece of artwork. I'll get to that later, but yeah, this is again definitely one of my favorite. Maybe it gets into the top 3 of my favorite horror movies ever. Maybe it is my favorite horror movie ever. I don't know. And definitely, if you have not seen it, go check it out. It stars Jack Nicholson, and it's based on a Stephen King book, which Stephen King said he didn't like this movie at all. He actually hated it, which I think he's crazy. But so what's this about? It's about this hotel and this family, Jack Nicholson and his wife and his kid. Basically, they go there. This hotel closes down in the winter, and they need someone to watch the hotel during the winter and to maintain it. So Jack Nicholson's character, Jack, his name is Jack in the movie too, he takes the job, and he's also a writer, so it gives him time to work on his novel while he's there. But I guess the hotel is haunted, and weird stuff starts happening. He starts kind of going crazy, and eventually he wants to kill. This it's hard to explain, but eventually he tries to kill his wife and his son. That's not doing it justice. You know what? I can't explain this movie. You just gotta see it. And I remember the first time I saw this movie. Not the first time. Like I've seen bits and pieces before. I can never really get into it. But I remember one time I was kind of sick, and I was up really late at night, and this movie was on, and I started watching it, and for some reason, it just like I was mesmerized, absolutely mesmerized by this movie. I don't know if it was the direction style or what, but I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. And yeah, since then I was really hooked on it, and it is pretty legitimately creepy on some parts, particularly the part where Jack sees the lady in the bathtub, and then he starts kissing her or whatever, and then he looks, and then she's like this old, rotten corpse, and she starts laughing at him. Man, that scared the crap out of me, especially because it was so late at night, and the house was very quiet, and then when that happened, it legitimately disturbed me. And yeah, pretty cool ending, shock ending, I guess you could say it's a shock ending. Yeah, you know what, I can't do this one justice, you gotta see it. And, oh yeah, what I was saying about the poster is, this is a terrible movie poster. First of all, I don't know why the is so big. The is big, and The Shining is small. I have no idea what that face is in there. And it's funny because you can see on the internet, what's the director's name? Stanley Kubrick. You can see notes that he passed, communication between him and the guy who designed the posters. And there's other versions of the poster. And Stanley Kubrick was like, oh no, this is crap, or he was rejecting so many posters and saying that they weren't good. But I guess he eventually liked this one, and this one's pretty terrible too, so it's kind of weird, but the guy was a genius, so. Here's another classic horror movie series, Evil Dead. And in this case, I chose Evil Dead 2 to talk about. E V I L D E A T 2 Dead by Dawn. So this movie stars Bruce Campbell, and the director and writer was Sam Raimi, the guy who directed the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. And so this is part 2, but there's also part 3, but it's called Army of Darkness. I don't know why they changed the name like that instead of calling it Evil Dead 3. So man, I remember going to my friend's house, and his brother had all these old VHS tapes, and we would occasionally watch some of his movies. And then one day we watched Evil Dead, and when I was young, I kind of thought it was crap, because at that age I only liked, more like Freddy or Jason movies where there's an obvious like mascot kind of character. So this movie is very, very different, but I remember thinking, yeah, what the hell is this? Like, me and my friends were kind of making fun of it, but at the same time, I kind of recognized that there was definitely something about this movie, and I would think about it a lot, and would watch it a lot, and talk about it a lot. And then eventually I was kind of realized, wait a minute, this movie's freaking awesome. And this was before the days of the internet and all that, so this was like, yeah, before it was cool. Yeah, I was a fan before it was cool, I guess I can say. What's good about this movie? Oh, the plot is, okay, there's a guy, his name is Ash, played by Bruce Campbell. Him and his friends go to this cabin. They find this book called the Necronomicon. Necronomicon. And it's, aka the Book of the Dead. And when they start reading passages of this book, I guess it unleashed these demons, I guess, called Deadites. And basically, yeah, from there it's zombies, demons, I don't know what you want to call it. And this movie definitely, what characterizes this movie is the extreme amounts of gore, especially in the first movie. But then starting the second movie, it was, Bruce Campbell, his character Ash, kind of became this badass, catchphrase spouting character, and he just became this classic, absolute classic character. That's really hard to do justice to, but and then the third one took it even further, and the third one is more like a comedy with some horror elements, but the one-liners that Ash has in that movie is just incredible. But yeah, if you want to see something kind of different, and another thing that characterizes this movie, all of the movies actually, is the unique directing style and techniques that Sam Raimi uses. Like a scene where, or multiple scenes where you'll have somebody running in the woods, and this, I guess, force is chasing after them, but you don't know what it is because it's a point of view shot. But the way it was filmed was really different and impressive, especially in the second movie. Yeah, there's not too much more I can say. Like, it's really a hard movie to do justice. But definitely, if you want to call yourself a horror movie fan, you gotta check out the Evil Dead movies. And there's even a TV show recently. I think it got canceled, but I think it's at least 1 or 2 seasons. I've seen a few episodes, and it's just crazy gory. Like, if you like gore, check out I don't know what it was called, Evil Dead, whatever. I don't know what it was called. But yeah, check out that series. I think it was on Netflix or one of those things. Okay, now we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. T H E T E X A S C H A I N S A W M A S S A Z R E. Wow, that's a long title. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Who will survive, and what will be left of them? Another absolute classic of horror. I think everyone knows this movie, like the name of the movie, and I always heard about this movie when I was younger, but I never seen it before, and I always kind of assumed it would just be another slasher movie with this character Leatherface as the villain or the monster or whatever. And I also thought that the movie would be super gory because he uses a chainsaw after all. So when I ended up seeing the movie for the first time, I think I was maybe 15, 16, I was very disappointed that number one, it wasn't a typical slasher movie, and number two, that there wasn't really much gore in the movie. There's just a little bit of blood here and there. But one thing is, though, when I got to the end of the movie, my stomach physically hurt. I was like really disturbed by the movie, and it might have been the chips I was eating, but yeah, I was really disturbed by the movie. And I remember saying out loud, that movie sucked. But then, I noticed that day after day, I kept thinking about the movie, and I kept talking about it to my brother. And I was like, wait a minute, is that definitely disturbing. It's such a surreal. It's over the top. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It's such a crazy scenario that these characters find themselves in. Yet it feels so believable, and I can completely imagine what the main character in the movie must have been going through. I can imagine this happening to me, as crazy as it sounds, and that's why it feels so real. Just very briefly, it's about this family, I guess, of cannibals. They own this barbecue shop, and they catch unsuspecting victims, and they cut them up, and they serve the meat in this barbecue shop. And it's a really deranged family. And one of the members is Leatherface, who, for some reason, he cuts off the faces of his victims, and then he wears them like a mask. And then, of course, there's a group of teenagers who accidentally get cut up in this. And yeah, so I guess of course, there's a sole survivor in the movie. I won't spoil who that is, but and yeah, like I said, the whole movie feels very real. And like, there's one part where Leatherface kills this guy by hitting, smashing him with a hammer, and then he falls on the floor and he lays still for a second, and then he just starts violently twitching. Like his legs just start violently twitching, and that's very disturbing because you don't usually see that kind of thing, especially back then. Like, that's not the way you would see death portrayed. It'd usually be something unrealistic or whatever. You would just probably fall and be dead, and that's it. But this injected a bit of realism into the way these guys were murdered. Yeah, so, and there's supposed to be a girl hanging on a hook over here, but I got kind of lazy and I was kind of running out of time, so I left that out. And by the way, the sequel for this was decent. Not nearly as good as the original. That would be impossible. But then everything after part 2 was pretty much garbage in my opinion, including all the remakes. Okay, only a few more left here. Yes, Poltergeist. Poltergeist. They're here. Poltergeist. This is another one of those movies where that actually terrified me when I was young, and still, I wouldn't say they terrify me anymore, but I was well into my teen years when this movie still kind of creeped me out. That's probably because I saw it at such a young age that these things kind of stuck with me. Yeah, so this is, I guess, your typical, not typical, but it's about a haunted house. Basically, this family buys this new house, not a new house, but they buy a house and they move in, and they didn't realize that the house was built on a native burial ground, and so there's like buried people under the house. But the construction company was supposed to reallocate the bodies, but they didn't do that, I guess, to save money. So then, of course, that results in the house being haunted, and a lot of creepy things start to happen. A lot of very unforgettable moments in this movie, like the fact that this girl ends up getting, I guess, sucked into the TV, and she's trapped inside the TV. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but the way it's done is like so awesome. Really creepy. Actually, kind of made me scared of my TV when I was a kid. Other classic moments I remember, like, I think scares. It's been a while since I've seen this, but there's a part where a boy is, I think there was a clown or something that comes to life in his room. Did that happen? Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but there's a part where the tree comes to life in the backyard and tries to swallow him. That freaked me out as a kid. And then there's a part where the closet door, like inside their closet, all of a sudden this big vortex thingy is trying to, like, pull them in, pull the kids in. And again, that really creeped me out. That definitely gave me nightmares as a kid. And then the scene where I think it was the mom in the swimming pool. It was like, they just started taking out the swimming pool. And then the one part she falls in and it's raining. And then all these skeletons start, popping up and trying to, pull her under or something like that. Very terrifying moment. But I don't think it's been a long time since I've seen this, but I think I caught a part of it on TV recently, and some of the effects were like, kind of like they didn't age very well, so I don't think I'd find it creepy anymore maybe for that reason. And the last movie for today is Dead Alive. D E A D A L I B E. Some things won't stay down even after. Oh, it's supposed to be they die. I put the die. The part the. So this was directed by Peter Jackson of the Lord of the Rings fame. This was well before the Lord of the Rings. And man, is this movie gory. If you like gore, and tons of gore by the bucketful, gore that you need a fire hose to spray around, this is the movie for you. Although it's not realistic gore by any means, there's lots of it. Basically, there's some kind of weird monkey creature in the beginning of the movie, and if it bites you, you get this weird thing. I don't know if it's a curse or whatever, but then you turn into one of these, basically a zombie. And so eventually the main character in the movie is this guy who's sort of very controlled by his mother, and then I think she ends up getting infected by this zombie thingy, so she turns into a zombie, but he's trying to like contain it and hide it from other people, but then eventually other people get infected. And yeah, all hell breaks loose. And he also has a love interest in the movie, so in a way it's kind of like it is definitely a comedy. It's not very serious, but it's a comedy slash horror slash romance movie, and it all works very well. And the gore is just over the top gory, and it's not just a lot of gore, but it's clever stuff happening. A lot of really good ideas and just really cool things. Like one part, the intestines of the zombie get ripped out, but then the intestines come to life and they start like attacking people and running around. It's like this little, I guess, puppet or something, but it's so well done and so funny. But my favorite thing in the movie is there's this little baby that's a zombie, and despite the fact that he looks, like a zombie, he's still like really cute. And yeah, it was just a really funny character to see him, this baby zombie run around and cause havoc. I love that character. So yeah, definitely check this one out if you like gore and if you like to see some very, a lot of ideas jam-packed into like one movie, like just cool idea after cool idea regarding the zombies and the gores and the way they get killed, and a lot of memorable lines in the movie as well. So yeah, definitely check this one out, but make sure you get the uncensored version, because the first time I bought it. This was a while back, but when I bought it, I got home and I was really disappointed because everything was censored out. All the gore, like everything was censored. And then I had to go back and get the correct uncensored version. Anyway, that's it for my ramblings for this video. And I hope you enjoyed it. And tomorrow's the big day, Halloween, so I hope you're ready for some Halloween goodness. Anyways, I'll see you next time.